What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of the Freddy Pod. I'm your host, Freddy Quinn, aka Freddy the Reporter. I'm a 24-year-old journalist born and raised in Louisiana, and the reason that I wanted to host this platform is to be able to talk about positive things, to uplift people and motivate people, because there's so much negativity going on in our world right now, and I just really want to be somebody who spreads positivity and love. On this platform, we're going to have interesting conversations. We're going to talk about positive stuff, and we're also going to get educated. As much as I'm talking to y'all, I'm growing and I'm learning with y'all too. So we in this together. We in this for the long haul. The title of today's episode is Mental Health Crisis. I wanted to center my first episode around mental health because, again, there's just so much negativity going on in the world, from finances to general economy to job security to people losing their loved ones, being separated from families, and people really don't realize the role that mental health plays in their lives, or I don't think they understand the severity of an affected mental state. I think people try to just suppress everything instead of getting it out. So one of the things we're going to get into today is how to address your mental health, but also some solutions. What can you do to better your overall mental health? One of the first things that I want to get into is kind of where the conversation for mental health started. We know that mental health has been prevalent for a long time. It's not something that's super new or super foreign. I think the only thing is that the conversation now, people are more open to mental health. In the last few years, I've seen that people are open to having the conversation to better their health or to understand what exactly mental health is. And I think one of the first driving factors of the conversation of mental health has been COVID. The pandemic really hit us hard. It hit everybody hard. That was a time to where people were it was just a hard time. It was just a hard time for everybody. Financially, people were just losing jobs left and right. People didn't know where the next income was to come. Even if a lot of people had side jobs and everything, people still didn't know what it was going to look. People who had large families, people who had small families, people who just by themselves was affected. It was just a very scary thing that brought along a lot of problems. It separated families for everybody. People lost their loved ones in the process of trying to figure out what COVID is and how to navigate it. People not only were separated from their families, but lost their families in the midst of the separation. You know, it was hard for me. COVID happened 2020. I was 19, 20 years old, and I was living with my parents, and I couldn't go into certain rooms because when they came out for a day to go get certain things and, get back, I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to do all these type of things. It hits you hard because I just want to be around my family, my loved ones, my sisters. I'm fighting for my little sisters. You still got to be productive to a certain capacity, and it was just hard to do that. It was just hard. So everybody was going through this big traumatic event, and think about it. At the time, I don't really think none of us really knew how to cope. You know what I'm saying? None of us really knew how to cope, but I think it just generally started with COVID to where people was just so out of their mental because it was just so heavy. People didn't really know what to do. And I don't know how you grew up, but I know largely for me and my community, being Black, we get taught to suppress everything. We get taught to not talk about it. A lot of times we get taught to just keep it moving, to keep it pushing. One of the things I was raised on was pray about it and keep it moving. That's pretty much it. You wouldn't talk about it. I think mental health is a topic that should be talked about. It's getting more talked about now, but I think it definitely should be talked about more. And one of the things that we need to get into as a society, as a community, is how to address those things. And we're going to do that in due time with this episode. But one of the first things that I want to get into is data and statistics. And doing some research about mental health in America, ironically, I went to Mental Health America. Mental Health America is a nonprofit organization. They just provide resources, information, data to get more information about mental health and what it means. And they conducted a study that shows states and their relationships to mental health access, mental health resources, all these different things. Out of all the 50 states, they ranked states from 1 to 13 that have a lower prevalence of mental illness and higher rates of access to care for adults. States that are ranked 39 to 51 indicate that adults have a higher prevalence of mental illness and lower rates of access to care. And I think one of the alarming things that I found was that Louisiana ranked 37 in states with limited access to mental health resources for adults, and Louisiana also ranked 38 among the states with limited mental health resources for youth, which is something that was just kind of alarming when you think about it. But I mean, I think it's something that we have to pay attention to. And now we see this discussion amongst doctors, amongst healthcare professionals, subject matter experts that show us that we are at epidemic levels when it comes to mental health issues, episodes, low resources, all these different things. And I think, part of the conversation into addressing mental health is just educating yourself. It's just by learning. Mental Health America provides statistics all the time. There are so many different organizations that provide statistics, resources. And if you don't know, if you're not privy to a lot of the things, or even if you just want to know about it, all you got to do is do the research. Try to have that information in the background so that you can, figure out what it's best to do in your situation. I'm baffled because I think that's just such a scary statistic that we're ranked 38 according to Mental Health America's study. And it just lets me know that there are things that we need to do, that we need to clean up. And I think one of the things that we're doing right now with this podcast is just talking about it. Just talking about it. I think people shy away from it, and part of it comes from what I was talking about earlier. In the Black community, we just get taught to just keep it pushing and not to discuss what you're going through. It just makes things worse on the grand scheme of things. Some other research that I was looking at was a study according to the Louisiana Violence Experiences Survey. And this was just a survey that was taken regarding substance abuse and mental health issues across the state of Louisiana. The data was taken from a 2023 survey. This is coming from WAFB. And they asked over 1,000 Louisiana residents across the state about the alcohol and drug use. The executive director of the Newcomb Institute at Tulane University was the orchestrator of the study. Behind it, Anita Raj. And she said that one of her biggest concerns that she found was the increasing working age men struggling with substance abuse and mental health. And to quote her, she says, "It's increasing everywhere, but it is particularly high here," speaking about Louisiana. She also goes on to say that suicide has gone up in our state and that overdose deaths have gone up in our state as well. So this is something that we are not tackling, despite having the data and what these data add. The one from our study adds how pervasive it is for the general population. And one of the other scary statistics that I read is that this data shows that 1 in 3 Louisianans binge drink, 1 in 8 use illicit drugs, 1 in 11 have severe anxiety/depression, and 1 in 11 reported thoughts of suicide in the last year. And Raj also goes on to say that mental health and substance use go hand in hand, which I think that was something that was very important to highlight, because a lot of people think that mental health comes in one shape, or it comes in one form, or it means that, quote unquote, a lot of people think when you have a mental health episode or mental health issue, or you go through a series of depressional states or substance abuse, it kind of hints at crazy, or something is inherently wrong with you, which is not always the case, especially when there are underlying factors that kind of increase whatever somebody is going through. People normally who went through substance abuse, who deal with drugs, oftentimes they are trying to get through a trauma, or they don't know how to process that trauma, so they try to escape it with drugs. People suffer from anxiety, depression when it comes to anything. It could be anything: school, stress, life, work. It doesn't just have to be tied to anything that's deeply rooted in anything specific. You know what I'm saying? It has a different look, feel, shape. Mental health affects everybody in many different ways. And I think that's one of the things that I really wanted to touch on next was the mental health misconceptions. A lot of people think mental health is just linear, and it's not. It's not linear at all. People think, oftentimes, hear the word mental health over the years, you kind of think, oh, crazy, or someone has an issue or some type of disorder, but it can be regular things the study mentioned. It could be issues with substance abuse. It could be different things that affect a person. And it looks different for adults and youth, because I remember a couple years ago, I was on, I don't know if I was on Instagram or if I was on Twitter. And I think it was Instagram though. And there was this woman, she was talking about her child, and she went out and she got information about mental health after her daughter had an episode. It was years ago. I wish I had the actual video in front of me so I can play it. She went on to say that she started noticing that her child was the little things that wasn't really clicking for her. She said her daughter is normally bubbly, upbeat, and when she started to come in, she started to see her less bubbly, less upbeat, less, I guess vibrant, I guess for lack of a better term. And she just started to see little things that was different about her daughter, and that her daughter was always wearing a uniform, a school shirt, or some type of school shirt or something like that. And she's, obviously she would tell her like take a shower and stuff. She would do all that stuff. But she would say when she came home, she wouldn't change. She would just stay there for up until the nighttime. And she always thought it was nothing, that type of stuff. And then through more conversation and more observation, her child was good. She was going through a lot. She was depressed. She was crying. She went to her, I guess they went to the doctor, or I don't know if it was a therapist specifically, but they went to go talk to somebody. And she came back and she, relayed the information to social media, and she was just check on your kids, because if she hadn't been observant about those little things, if she hadn't went to the doctor, had the conversations about depression and anxiety and found out what she was going through and all that type of stuff, then she would have never really picked up on this. She never really thought that it was, how to see mental health. And I think that's one of the things people don't know. People think that there are signifiers, real clear indicators when it comes to mental health. And I don't think that's the case. We see it all the time. People can be completely happy or put out this energy or facade that they're completely happy. And then we see them try to harm themselves. We see them later, fall to drinking, fall to different things, go into habits that we've never seen them go. A lot of times it's our loved ones, it could be our friends, it could be anybody. And we've just seen that over the years. We need to pay attention to the little things in youth and in adults. A lot of times if you have friends that, use certain verbiage or anything that's out of the ordinary, the little things that you catch, it could open you up to a bigger conversation. Hey, what's up, friend? What's up, sis? What's up, bro? What's up, cuz? Are you in a good space? And I think one of the other things that we need to start doing as a society is being more open to that conversation. When the conversation of mental health started kicking off, for me, I remember it being 2016-ish, that type of thing. I don't know if y'all remember, but social media, there was this trend of people, right? And I remember they had this girl on TikTok or whatever, and she was not TikTok. Was it TikTok? No, it wasn't TikTok. It was something else. But it came later, not in 2016. I'm tripping. And around 21, 22, something like that, there was this girl on TikTok, right? Influencer, whatever. And I remember she did this thing where this was when the conversation of mental health really took off with people. And I think this is why a lot of people have skepticism when it comes to addressing your mental health. And she got on social media. When people do the video and they, what I do at work or something like that. Well, she did a video where she was calling off from work and telling them about my mental health. And it was sad music and all that type of stuff. And then she posted a conversation, which was, about her telling her job, hey, I'm having a mental health day. This is when mental health days was a thing. People was taking off on mental health days. Companies were giving mental health days to people because they know, particularly people were dealing with just a lot that was going on from the aftermath of COVID too. And she recorded it and she was just, hey, I'm having a mental health day and all that type of stuff. And the person on the other end was, oh yeah, I completely understand what you're going through, da da da. And I think that same day or whatever, it went viral that she took another picture and she was getting her wig done. And it was just, and she was kind of laughing, and it just opened up this trend for people to be, I'm just leaving work for a mental health day. I need a mental health day. I'm sick. This, type of thing. And I think when people started seeing that, they started saying, see, kind of going back to the previous years, like, see, people are not really going through no mental health. A lot of people just want to get out of work. So people have a lot of misconceptions about mental health, whether that's how it affects the youth versus adults, whether that's, are people genuine with their mental health. So people have their reasons for not stepping into understanding their mental health and trying to better it, or understand why it's at this current state or whatever. And I think that's something that desperately needs to change. Really do thank all these different organizations that are coming out with just general information about mental health, whether you're local or statewide, nationwide. They have all these different types of organizations and hotlines that you can confide in. And which brings me to my next topic, which is resources that help you with mental health. And I think it's just going out there and trying to search for the information. I know that it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and I'm not saying this as if I'm better or that I haven't figured out, because I don't, because I'm human. I have different feelings and emotions, and as a man, it's really hard to be emotional. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to check all of your emotions at the door a lot of the times. But I find that it's easier when you have some type of system in place or something that helps you process your emotions better. And a lot of times mental health can be resolved when you are just in healthier, better situations. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that sometimes people think, oh, I can't address my mental health because I need therapy, and therapy costs money, or they have this negative energy towards mental health. I don't need to figure out ways to address my mental health, man, because it just costs so much money, and people just trying to get money out of me. It's just so many different things. But there's organizations, there's hotlines out there. There's just different places to just help you with your mental health. For a lot of people, it may look a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? I grew up Baptist, so a lot of times the church will offer different resources. So all you have to do is just look in your area and try to figure out, try to seek and find that information and learn about what's at your disposal. Even if you don't want to go the nationwide route, if you don't want to talk to a hotline, you don't want to, that's kind of too much pressure. You don't have to do that either. You can find whatever brings you out of that negative or dark place. It could be peers. There are so many different ways that you can address your mental health. And I have this here. Exercising. Mental health really, 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 really is affected by our bodies physically and what we put into our bodies. So healthy eating, getting exercise, literally going outside and getting some sun, it all plays into it. Spending time in nature, again, just getting out with the nature, going to the park. If you have children, go out there with your kids, go to the park, bro. Go out there, go to the park, you know what I'm saying, play a little basketball, you know what I'm saying, play with your kids on the swing set. Or if not, if you want to go with your family, go with your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, your sisters, your brothers, go out there and enjoy a good time. You can do gardening. One of the biggest ways to help with mental health is getting a journal and writing, man. Just writing what you're feeling, writing what you think. Something that's just for you. No judgment, no anxiety, no pressure. All you got to do is just sit in a confined space, really just, relax and get your thoughts out. That's all you got to do. Deep breaths, of course. Relaxation when it comes to spa and treatments, warm baths, all these different things. Small things people take for granted. Just reading a book. I know for me, a lot of times it's praying, finding your church home. If you don't have a church, talking to your peers, talking to a therapist. It could be doing something new, generally. If you know that you're in a negative state and you can't figure out why, and one of the things that you always wanted to do was just, I don't know, if you never been to City Park and you wanted to get Cafe Du Monde and you just wanted to eat a beignet and sit on the grass, and you know that you've never done that or had the opportunity to do that, go do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with just putting yourself out there to something new. You can paint, you can make music. If you don't want to do all these things, you can just generally practice just being nice, waking up in the morning, affirmations. Hey, I'm happy that I'm alive today. Hey, I'm gonna go get them today. Hey, I'm not gonna worry about work today. I'm just gonna worry about me. I'm gonna worry about, getting better. Hey, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna see something. I'm gonna listen to my favorite song. You can just express gratitude. It doesn't have to be this big thing. You don't have to always just get a therapist. some point, I do recommend trying to seek a therapist or trying to seek this outlet to where you can talk to people, finding a community. If you're a writer, finding a writer. There's so many different places in New Orleans to where you can just write. You know what I'm saying? You can literally go there and write. There's a community, I forgot, coffee house, and you can go there. You can just write your screenplays. There's other people that just write. If you are somebody who runs, there's different running groups in New Orleans specifically that you can do. Or wherever you at. You know, I'm from Louisiana, so I'm speaking to my people in New Orleans, Lafayette, you know what I'm saying? All these different places. But wherever you are, figure out the key activity for you to address your mental health to get better. Because life bears ups and downs. We all know that. You know, life is never going to be easy. We always get taught that life is never going to be easy, so why not make life easier? That's all we got to do. That's all we got to do. And remember, never shy away from talking to somebody. I want to stress that because talking is one of those things that is so easy to do. And guess what? It's free. You ain't got to pay for nothing. All you have to do is to just talk to people. You have to be open in that regard if you want to get better. There's so many different apps that you have. And I think it's just so important to really address your mental health. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. I know it's hard because I go through the same thing. I've been there. I'm not telling you nothing that I haven't experienced or that I wouldn't, know about. We all have those days. We all have those episodes. We all have those seasons where we just depressed, where we just down and out. It's just too much. But that's why I'm putting out this platform to really push positivity, to push growth. As much fun as I'm having talking to y'all, I'm growing with y'all. And I'm going to learn, and we're going to learn together. And if you ever have a problem, don't hesitate to DM me. Follow me on everything at Freddy the Reporter. I'm here. DM me. I don't care what it is. I don't care how long it is. I don't care what you got to say. YouTube, if you got to DM me on YouTube, message me on YouTube, comment, Instagram, Twitter, all these different things. I got a website. You guys can hit me up at www.frederickquinn.com. And just whatever you got to do to figure out, to put the steps in place to really help you. And if I don't know the answer, I promise you, I will do my best to accommodate you the best way I know how. And there's all kinds of resources. And don't worry, I'm gonna do a write-up on this. And I'm gonna link you to all these different things that I was talking about so that you can read it for yourself, so that you can get information for yourself. But there's so many resources out here that are designed to help us. There's so many different places, from Jefferson Parish Human Services Authority, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, Jefferson General Hospital, West Jefferson General Hospital, Advocacy Department of Children, across the state of Louisiana. There's so many different hotlines, Medicaid, insurance have options and resources for you. So there's so many different things that you can do. But I hope that you learned something throughout this episode. Remember, we just want to have conversations. That's all we want to do. We want to have conversations and we want to help people grow. Again, don't worry about that. Don't worry about all the stresses and negativity of the world. Don't worry about the current problem that you're facing right now, the current circumstances that you're in. Because I promise you, it gets better. It gets better. It gets better. I'm going to say it again. It gets better. You don't have to worry about all the extra stuff. A lot of times, we worry about the earthly things, the worldly things. And God, He just wants us to focus on Him, because He can never, ever mess up. He can never, ever fail. As long as we give everything to Him, He's going to show us, He's going to guide us, He's going to mold us, He's going to prepare us for anything that comes our way. Because life bears trials and tribulations. And we have to make it easy on ourselves. And the only way that you can do that is if you give it to God. But as far as what we can control on the earth and by ourselves, it's just getting help with these resources. Whether that's finding activities, finding a hotline, checking out your insurance to see what resources you have, anything, any type of thing that can help you address your mental health, go for it. Go for it, and don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Connect with me on all platforms at Freddy the Reporter, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. You can find me on there. Hit me up on my website, www.frederickquinn.com. Everything is in a link in my bio. So all you got to do is just click it. Boom. It's right there. All for you. This is the end of my first ever episode. I pray and I hope that it reaches somebody. I pray that you learn something. I'm going to do a write-up on this so that y'all can see it, so that y'all can read it, so that y'all can have the actual resources for yourself. Pass it on to a friend. That's all I can ask. Pass it on to a friend. And no matter what you do, just keep God first. Because God created you in His image. So you ain't got no choice but to be you. Peace out.